Hey folks, this is Mary Jordan. Hi, your librarian and from the CTL. And in this video, we're talking about some active learning strategies. It makes teaching easier, but it's harder too. I know it seems so confusing. What we're going to do here for just the next few minutes is walk through a few resources that I found that you can go back and look at yourself and kind of get some ideas for your class. I mean, straight lecturing doesn't really work. Let's see if we can help you think of some better ideas. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. This is an article from the Inside Higher Education website. They have a newsletter. It's free. You can sign up for this. I did. Yeah, anybody can sign up for it. I like it. It doesn't cost you anything, and I feel like they have a lot of interesting information. So I almost always click on articles that I see from them. So this one is I think brings up some interesting issues, and I will say I think it's a little disjointed, but they do a good job of talking about active learning and student identities. So this was based on a survey that somebody did, and I'm trying to move through this slowly so people don't get dizzy looking at it. One of the things that I thought was very interesting is that so many of the students said, "Oh, I don't really like teaching style." Um, but really, kind of what they meant was this is a hard class and I'm kind of struggling with it. So that's interesting. Um, I mean, you've all been in classes, I'm sure, where you have students who, they don't really know how to teach. They don't always know how to student either. And they're the ones making decisions about whether or not your teaching was effective. And of course, that makes sense. And also, of course, there's some problems there. I mean, we all know there is a ton of research to already show students do not necessarily give the best feedback on teaching. Um, Student evaluations of female professors are consistently lower than male instructors, especially when you're talking about young female instructors. It doesn't matter how amazing they are or they may be to their colleagues, their teaching evaluations are going to be lower. Little thing, that's not a little thing, but details like that. This is not always the audience that maybe has all the answers. And still, it's our job to be connecting with this audience of people, students. So the fact that they don't necessarily understand about teaching style, I don't think is a bad thing. This article kind of says that, maybe different words than I just used, but it's something that I think about a lot. Because when you're talking about how you work in class, everybody, of course, is going to have different strategies. Some of the classes that we have here, especially on our campus, in health sciences, in automotive, or other trades, there is necessarily going to be more hands-on work than there is lecturing. But I go to a lot of classes that have lectures. I am very disheartened by the number of students who I see who just walk into a room and sit down and look around and they have no idea what's happening and they don't know how to take notes in class. That drives me bananas. So I would say a lot of reasons for that. COVID, many things, the rich tapestry, more discussion than we have time for in this moment. But I think it's pretty safe to say that you will occasionally need to do lectures. Doing lectures on the regular, that's not going to be a good strategy for your students. I mean, I have spent a lot of time lecturing. I used to teach classes that meant once a week for 3 hours. And, yeah, I lose my voice at the beginning of every semester. And I mean, I feel like I'm fascinating to listen to, but for 3 hours, nobody's fascinating to listen to for 3 hours. As I became a better teacher, as I became also more confident in my skills, I started doing more of these things and more of the active learning and trying to really break out of just, I'm going to stand here and be the talking head. A little of that, but not a lot. You should really try to rely on other things in your class. And it can be hard, especially, you've been teaching for a little while. You've really got your lecture dialed in. You've got your notes. You don't want to have to do a whole bunch of prep all over again. I get it. But I'm just going to remind you, you're not alone there. First of all, you want to do a good job regardless. But secondly, it's literally my job to help you. So I don't know your subject. You know your subject, but I can help you with some ideas. I can help you look stuff up. Look, here's stuff. I'm pointing at the article. Here's this one. We're going to look at a few more that may give you some ideas. Don't feel like you're in this alone. And if you're like, where would I even start? Yeah, start by sending me an email. I'll come sit in your office, or this is my office. Come sit here. Come sit in the library. I will feed you snacks if that makes it better. And I really think that leaning into this idea of active learning and getting away from lecturing, getting away from slides, if you're not already, and I know a lot of people are, but if you're not already really doing this, I think you need to really be doing this. And I'm here to help you. So, in this article from the Inside Higher Education, which again, you can sign up for absolutely free, they give a few examples here. I've used most of these. This is the one. I really like this. I've talked about this at a lot of different places and with a lot of you already, but I don't remember where I stumbled on this. But you hand out, or the way that I did it, there are different ways. But what I did was I would hand out a little scenario to my students. In the in-person classes, it works best. You can definitely do it online. Hand out a little scenario on a piece of paper. They have to write notes, and I mean, they're not turning it in, so it doesn't have to be perfect, beautiful sentences. They take notes, and then you say, awesome, you had 2 minutes to do that. Great. Now, pair up with somebody sitting next to you. Yes, this is where you get the, you're making me talk to people looks. I don't want to be in this class anymore. Why are you torturing me like this? And the first few seconds of them working in partnership is they're like they can have in common that they hate you for doing this to them. Don't worry about it. So then they work with their partner and they have to come up with an answer jointly. And then we're still on the same scenario. They're still taking notes on that little piece of paper. Then I would have each pair up. And those four people now, or I don't know, sometimes there's an extraneous person, it doesn't matter. But those four people, they work together. And as a group, they have to come up with an answer. And then they have to give a small presentation to the class about it. And I mean, nothing big, 30 seconds, a minute, nothing extraordinary. But I felt like this was really helpful because when I had issues that were very important, things that students really had to take time to work on, it's not enough to just say, you should really be working on this. Instead, you have to give them the tools to do it. And I mean, sure, homework, but I'm not a serious believer in the value of homework always. I like when students are doing things right there in front of me. And if they're combining it with talking to each other and learning to work with their colleagues, all the better. And it can be anything. It could be a big thing. It can be a small thing. I've said I taught management for a long time, and we would do disaster planning. And so I would say, okay, your library was just hit by a small flood, and what do you save first? Or, and this is popular in the library profession. It's probably popular in yours too. Your budget was just cut. Here are some of the things that we have in the budget. Go ahead. You have 2 minutes. Cut $20,000. Go. Ever popular, and unfortunately, it really happens. So it's good for the students to actually have these skills. Whatever your content is, try to see what you can do here. And again, all of this can be brought into the online world. If you feel uncertain about it, talk to me. Not an expert either, but you and I can muddle around and figure something out. All right, here's another article. We're going to look at a few different resources. Again, just so you kind of have some ideas. You can look at this yourself. I like to look at things myself. I feel like it helps me. If you are interested in this, this is from UConn. If you're interested in this, just look over here on their quick links. They have a variety of other links that you could click on, and we're just looking at active learning. So they talk about active learning and kind of the elements of it. So I like that. It kind of made me sort of think, oh, okay, yeah, break it into this. And then the preparation. I feel like that's important because um, you have to figure out how to do this and make things work. But yeah, again, remember, you have a finite amount of time and don't create something. I mean, unless you really want to, I guess. Don't create something that's going to take 100 hours for you to put together and it's going to be done in thirty minutes in your class. See what you could do to find a nice happy medium in there. Motivation. I do like to explain to students why we're doing things. And I like to tell students, I don't care that you're unhappy. I don't care that you don't want to do this. You're entering a profession where you're going to have to do a bunch of things that you're going to be unhappy about and you're not going to like. It's better to practice now where you can feel supported and feel confident. And I have found that even when I'm being that mean, I'm not always that mean to my students, I promise. But even when I'm being that mean, it does kind of help people say, "Oh, this is they're terrified of busy work. I'm not just giving them busy work. I'm not just giving them something to do that doesn't have a point. There's a point to it. This is why we're doing it." And I'm going to say, letting students get to know each other, that is a 100% valid thing that we should be doing much more of. I mean, everywhere across the whole campus would be great, but you're in your classroom, so what you can do in your classroom to get them to know each other, I would always tell my students, look, you're all going to school here. We're all here in this one little defined area. And probably most of you, even if you're not working in the cubicle next to each other, you'll be working around with these people for the next 30 years. So get to know each other, get to know a few people's names. It's it's hard and it's hard for students. And I think whatever we can do to kind of I don't want to say force them into something that's not comfortable, but encourage them to do things that kind of push their boundaries in a way that it's you're being positive. You're not just being mean to them for the sake of being mean to them. I was not being mean to my students just for the sake of being mean to my students. Sure, side benefit, but uh, I mean, I always wanted to make sure that they left with skills, and I think the skill of getting to know each other and being able to talk to another person in the classroom is a skill, and giving them the opportunity to have that is good. All right, let's look at Purdue here. So they have some active learning skills here. I don't think they have a ton, but it kind of just I felt like it made people think, or it made me think. I was looking at this a little bit more about what an active learning strategy is. Again, I mean, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're not curing cancer, unless, I don't know, maybe you are in your classroom, but that'd be amazing. Call me if you are. But figuring out a few ideas. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have everything, but trying to break up your class. We'll do 5 minutes of lecture, 10 minutes of lecture, uh, 15 minutes of an active learning strategy. Okay, another 10 minutes of lecture, and then another 10 minutes of you're going to work on this thing that you're going to take home with you, or you're going to be part of a group project that you'll work on outside of class or whatever. It can be helpful. So this gives other resources where you might go look up some ideas because, hey, somebody has thought of it. I like it. I don't want to always have to think of new things. I'm tired. Grading papers takes a lot out of you. Go with what somebody else has already done and somebody else has already tried. Honestly, it just makes sense. Again, here we're just looking at this is Harvard, the Derek Box Center. They will have a variety of different things. Nothing that we didn't necessarily see in the other material, but I think that they give some nice They give nice descriptions of what to do. I felt like, I don't know, it made me think of things. Oh, the jigsaw. I thought that was actually kind of new. That was interesting. I did like that. All right, and then let's wrap up with a look at, of course, our beloved Bloom's taxonomy. You probably all know Bloom's taxonomy now. If you haven't yet encountered that, you will in some of your Quality Matters classes or along the way there. Active learning, it matters, and being able to use these nice active verbs. Again, why would you have to spend time hurting your brain thinking of active verbs? Go to Bloom's. You can use this one. I just go when I have to write, analysis or evaluations or new projects or new assignments or something. I just Google Bloom's taxonomy. A million people have talked about it, and they have all these nice like charts of words. So it's handy to be able to, sorry, back to the blooms. It's handy to be able to look at the blooms and take other people's words and say, oh, here's my nice active verb. This is what we're doing. And then again, nice handy things. Oh, look, jigsaw. There was another one. Um, a variety of different projects, things to do. I don't know, fishbowl. I've never actually seen this happen. I've talked about this. I've heard about it. I've read about it in a bunch of places. So if anybody is doing that in your class, would you please invite me? Because I would love to actually, uh, it sounds like a good idea. I don't know if it actually works. So I'm interested. All right. How does that feel? Pretty good? Not terrible? Do something new, do something interesting. And I mean, honestly, part of the reason that I'm in the library right now is I don't feel like I handled my teaching always as well as I should have. And I got really burned out and just exhausted with it. I taught the same class, I don't know, 12, 15, 1,000 semesters in a row. And I tried to update it a little bit, but I don't think I did enough to really be deliberate in updating it. And, that's not great. So I hope you do better, and I would like to help you to do better. And we'll make your class, make it fun for you, make it interesting for you, as well as being interesting, valuable, useful for your students. Good student evaluations, everybody's happy, everybody learns good things. These are all awesome, awesome outcomes. All right. Come talk to me in the library, send me an email. I'm happy to come talk with you in your office and we can work out whatever ideas you might want. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.